Today, we are tackling a super popular upgrade that, believe it or not, comes with some pretty serious hidden consequences. We're talking about putting big wheels on your truck or car, and why that awesome look might actually be making your ride a lot less safe.
So let's just dive right in. You've spent a ton of money, maybe thousands, to get that perfect look, right? That aggressive stance, maybe a little more ground clearance. But in the process, did you ever stop to think about, well, stopping? It's a question a lot of folks just completely forget to ask.
To really get why this is such a big deal, we've got to break down the two main things that control how your vehicle comes to a halt. It all boils down to some pretty simple but super important physics.
Okay, first up, we have something called brake torque. Now, what is that? It's basically the raw, brute stopping power that your brake system creates right there at the center of the wheel. You know, it's that clamping force from your calipers squeezing the brake pads onto the spinning rotor. That's the muscle.
Here's a really easy way to picture it. Imagine you're trying to loosen a super stubborn bolt with a wrench. That twisting force you're putting on the handle? Yeah, that's basically your brake torque. It's the raw effort you're putting into the job.
All right, our second key player is the wheel radius. And listen, this is important. We're not just talking about the metal rim here. We're talking about the total distance from the very center of your axle all the way down to where the tire tread hits the pavement. It's the whole shebang, wheel and tire. And going back to our wrench analogy, this is where it all clicks. The wheel radius acts like a lever. Think about it. Using a longer wrench makes it way easier to bust that bolt loose, right? Well, that length, in our case the radius, has a massive impact on how effective your force is.
So here's the bottom line. Your brake system, that's what makes the force, the brake torque. But it's your wheel and tire size that decides how long of a lever that force has to fight against to get you stopped. One is the power, the other is the leverage.
So let's see how these two things are basically locked together in a simple but really powerful formula that decides your actual real-world stopping power. This little equation right here, this is what runs the whole show. The actual braking force you get down at the tire, where rubber meets road, is your brake torque divided by the radius of your wheel. It's a direct relationship.
And this image just lays it out perfectly. You can see the brake torque, labeled TB, that's the twisting force trying to stop the spin. But then you see the wheel radius, RW, that's the long lever arm that the road's momentum is using to fight back against your brakes. And this, right here, this is the single most important thing to take away from all this. If you don't upgrade your brakes, but you put on bigger wheels, you have made your brakes weaker, period. They have less leverage, so they literally can't put as much stopping force down on the pavement. Okay, so that's the theory. But let's put some actual simple numbers to this so you can see just how big of a difference this really makes. All right, so let's just say, for the sake of argument, your stock brake system puts out a constant 300 Newton meters of torque. That number isn't going to change just because you bought some new rims, right? It's a constant. Now, with a smaller stock wheel, let's say it has a radius of 0.3 meters, that 300 Newton meters of torque gives you a nice, solid 1,000 newtons of stopping force where it counts, on the road. But look what happens. You bolt on those cool, bigger wheels. Now your radius is 0.4 meters. With that exact same 300 Newton meters of brake torque, your stopping force on the pavement just plummeted to only 750 newtons. And you can see it right here, side by side. That's a 25% drop in your effective braking force, just from a wheel swap. All of a sudden, your vehicle is 25% worse at stopping in an emergency. That's a really big deal. You know, there's actually a handy little guide for this called the 10-10-10 rule. For every 10% you go up in your wheel's total diameter, you lose about 10% of your brake performance. And it gets worse. For every 10 pounds you add in weight, you lose another 1%. It's a double whammy. So, okay, a 25% loss sounds bad, but what does that actually feel like when you're driving? What are the real-world consequences? Well, if you don't upgrade your brakes to match the new wheels, you're going to start noticing some of this stuff. Your stopping distances are going to get longer. Your brakes have to work way harder, which makes them overheat. That's called brake fade. You might even get a spongy feeling pedal, and you will absolutely burn through your brake pads and rotors way faster. And this isn't just theory, these are real numbers. In one case study, they looked at a Toyota Tacoma that went up to 33-inch tires. The math showed it needed 38% more brake torque just to get back to the stopping distance it had from the factory. 38%, that's a huge safety gap. Now, the good news is, there's a solution.
The only way to safely get back that lost leverage is to upgrade your brake system so it can generate more torque. We're talking bigger rotors, better calipers, maybe a full big brake kit. You've got to restore that balance to stay safe.
At the end of the day, modifying your vehicle is all about making it your own, improving its performance and looks. But as you're building that dream machine, you have to ask yourself a serious question. Is my most important safety system really up to the task I'm giving it?